All right. We were covering both Usign, GIFsign, LogoZine, and today we'll be announcing MockZine. And I'm going to show you a couple of things here that will be kind of cool with that, okay? I can't answer your support questions. They have to go to support. Best if support handles those questions, and we've already had one of those today, and so that's been addressed. So thank you for that. Your questions are very important. They're always important to me. Understand, I want you to know how important those questions are. Important enough, I go back and I listen to the webinar, and I also read the chat session and make sure that we've addressed the questions. I put a lot of effort into that to make sure that you understand how important those questions are, but they have to relate to the day's topic, okay? I don't have answers to pricing questions, timelines, those kinds of things, unless I've been given that. And so asking more than once doesn't really help, okay? I will do my best to try to address that every single opportunity that I get, but I can only give you what I know, all right? And I don't have answers about partners offers. I don't know how somebody else's product works unless I pitch that product to you. And so keep that in mind. And then always refer to this document which we have provided for you. And somebody pointed out the fact that that's not available when you're listening to the replay, so we fixed that. That is now available in the replay. If you look in the comments section, when you're looking at that, you will find that document that has your typical questions that are asked there. Where do I find this? How do I get that? Where do I send an email? That kind of thing. Okay, so the next thing is we are up to January the 12th on the replay. People always ask the question about the replay, and so I've been trying to post the replay schedule for you each week so that you'll know where we're at, okay? The next thing is, and this is a little thing, but I think it's really important. This was a question that was asked about Amazon merch. This has been asked a lot, and so it's been asked so much that I tried to get an Amazon merch account, all right? I have a number of POD accounts, and so I even applied for an Amazon merch account. It might have been the fact that I applied for it like at 2 o'clock in the morning, but I was rejected. So I can't help. I've never been rejected. I've never had an application turned down for anything. And so they told me that they didn't know enough about me. I only have a half a dozen things I do with Amazon, and I couldn't believe it. But so I took that as a sign that you'll have to use it in your own Amazon merch account and then give us feedback on how that works, okay? We'll do the best to answer your questions about that, but I even tried to get an account and I didn't get an account. So that's all I can do. I can't do anything else. The next thing is, and I want you to help me with something here. I've talked about this a couple of times, and it's called closing the loop. And that is when you ask a question in the group, usually somebody else has the same question. We've seen this so many times. When you ask a question in the group and an answer is provided, or what appears to be an answer is provided, always make sure to respond back. The reason why I did this is because I blurred out the person's name, because it just helps us. It helps everybody else in the community to understand that that was a legitimate question. Here's a legitimate answer, and it actually worked. So always remember, if somebody helps you with something, to tell them, give them feedback. Oh, that was helpful, or no, that didn't work, or something to that effect. That closing the loop always helps. Just a little. It's not a rule. It's just something that would be helpful. Okay, do y'all understand that? Because when somebody, I don't care who it is, in this case it was Rose, but if it's Rose, or even if it's Jean or somebody else in the group, and they answer the question, it really helps when we close the loop. You all got very quiet in the chat box, so I want to make sure that you're still hearing me good, okay? I need a little bit of feedback here so we'll know everything's okay. All right, great. The next, because really when somebody offers to help you with the question, it really helps everybody if you say, yeah, that worked great. So then it becomes, and I'm going to show you something about this in just a minute, then it becomes part of the permanent record in the group, and that's always cool. I did this last week right after the webinar, and I wanted to get some feedback. I got a great piece from Gene, but it wasn't because Gene needed help. It was because he created a really cool GIF. And so, which I thought was amazing. And we're going to play it later. Gene sent it to me just a few minutes before we went live, trying to make sure that we didn't have any issues, and we still ended up with an issue. So I didn't get a chance to get it put in there in time. So I can't play that for you, but I will play it when we move off of the agenda and onto the work canvas. Okay. All right. The next thing is, and I always like to do this whenever this happens, just as soon as I post this, and I grab it this morning to put it into the agenda, then I see that this guy made a post. Okay. No, I can't, Xavier. That's a timing question that I don't have the answer to. So I can't. That's one of those questions I can't answer. Okay. This guy creates his very first GIF, and it was amazing. I thought this guy's done a great job. So, which proves my point, and we've said this numerous times, and I've heard Gene mention it several times, that the learning curve on GIF sign is not nearly as steep as people think it is. It's just not. And so when you have somebody who said, and this is a great comment, I've had this software since it came out, but I never used it. And I'm not going to read his next sentence, but the last one says, "This is my first design." He did a great job with this. You know, this is really easy to do the things that you normally want to do with a GIF program. So I thought this was really good. Dan deserved a shout out for this because he posted his first design. I'm interested in the rest of you I'm really interested in getting the rest of you to post your designs as well. Put that first one in there. After you put the first one in, you find out that everybody loves on you. It's going to be good and it'll be fun. Okay. Marshall, the answer to that question is no, this is a unique product. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay. The next thing is, and I want to play this for you because this is really important. And this is the reason why the closing the loop becomes so important, because watch what happens here. I showed you this last week as a way to demo something, but watch carefully as I play this GIF, and I'm going to talk about this in just a minute. So I click on my name in the group, and what happens is everything that I've posted in the group comes up. So it becomes really easy. If I know that Gene has done that, but I can't find it, all I have to do is click on Gene's name, and I see everything that he's done. And so it makes it really, really helpful. Makes it really helpful for us to be able to go back. So when that loop gets closed, then it becomes part of the permanent documentation in the group. Does that make sense to everybody? That's the reason why this becomes so important. Oh, I had this problem. So I knew Rose answered it, or Eric answered it, or Gene answered it, or John answered it, or somebody else in the group answered that. And then you just simply click on their name. You get everything they've ever posted and every comment that they ever made. How helpful is that? Rose will help you with that, James. So I want to give you some ideas about branding today. We've been talking about branding for a couple of weeks now. And with some of the things that we have that are coming out, logo design in particular, the subject of branding comes up a lot, okay? So I want to talk about branding just a little bit. I'm going to move away from this, but this is going to be my third week on branding, and I want you to get this next step today. We talked about this when Rose wrote this article, but one of the pieces of branding, and we talked about the design last week, has to do with the types, the fonts. And so she gives you 5 typography tips that every designer should know. Really important to know this and to have that information available. And I'm going to show you the reason why that's so important in just a second, okay? I went through and looked at the top logos for the top brands in the world. And that's what I got, what you see on the screen right there. I just Googled the top logo designs for the top companies around the world. And I'm going to scroll through that later and show that to you. because there's something that's really, really important here. I have a good friend who wanted to have a logo created, and my ideas were too simple. And she came back with this. She had 4 graphic artists in town that said, "We'll build we'll create a design for you." And it came back. What she came back with was dark. It was difficult to read, and it was she's a Christian artist singer, and it was a dark stage platform, and with grayed out kind of lettering on it, and it got lost in this. And I said, "Why did you go that way?" And she said, "I love it." Okay. Simple. And you've heard me say this so many times. Simple is the best direction to go. Keep things as simple as possible. Mike, make sure that I appreciate your question, but make sure that you put a question mark at the beginning of that. I happened to pause and catch that. So just make sure that you put a question mark for everybody. Put a question mark at the beginning of your question instead of at the end. That makes it a lot easier for me if you can do that. So sometimes we need to have some direction. Sometimes we need to have somebody who's reminded us of 5 typography tips that every designer should know. And Elle, by the way, I want to mention this, since last week you triggered me with Montserrat, of the most popular fonts in the world, in design, in documentation, everything. Do you want to guess what number Montserrat was? That's a question just for Elle, because I triggered you last week. Nope, you're close though. It was number 8. It was number 8 on the list. So pretty interesting that it's that popular, and it really is a very popular font. Okay. Yes, let's take a look. So we've got to have some help sometimes that keeps us from staring at a blank canvas like this. That's kind of the direction I've been going the last couple of weeks, and this is the last week we'll do this, but I want you to see this. We have to master the tools that we have. We've got to find a way to become a master of the tools. The better you are at the tools that you have, the easier it is to get past this and begin to do something that's going to be amazing. Okay? So I want to share something with you from the design canvas today. Again, keeping things as simple as possible. But I ran across, I belong to a group where ClickFunnels, somebody had taken an image of a ClickFunnels ad, and they tagged Russell Brunson and said, "This is a great example of a design. I've tried to download that, and I can't. But I wanted to use it where the inspiration was at. But they'd taken that. I'll show you what I did with that in just a second. But I loved the design, and honestly, it looked kind of old school. But for those of you, it's kind of interesting that old school is becoming very popular now. And so Russell immediately responded and said, "Yes, it's old school, and so am I." And I thought that was kind of a cool comment about the old school design. And so I'm going to show you. I'll show you just a little bit. We're going to use that. We use a mock-up of that type of a design. We're going to use that on the canvas today. Okay. So this is I'm going to use it to show you a couple of things that I recognize as I went back and went through last week's webinar, and I saw the comments that were made, something that we should probably talk about, and that is grouping and the layout lines. And so this is part of the design, and I'll show you the whole design in just a minute. Yeah, you're kind of right about that, Tony. Old school is only old school to the people who weren't around the first time, and some of us were. So, but when we get to the design canvas, I want to talk about this and how we create this and how we do this quickly and make it so that it works. Okay, and then I want to talk about this. It's coming soon. This is MockZine. And when I get off of the agenda, I'm going to show you this new tool, MockZine. Okay. And I'll talk just a little bit about how important the process is here so that we've got some understanding about what's going on. All right. And I have to remind you before we go of something really important, because I've seen this quote coming up a few times in the groups. And so we've got to keep doing this. We got to keep this in mind. And that is always begin with the end in mind. Always begin with what's my output going to be? Where am I going to go with this? What am I going to try to accomplish? And I do that first so that I'm not staring at that blank screen wondering what do I do? And it becomes impulsive. So you ought to be on automatic that I start out thinking about what's going to be my end result. And that helps me when I import my pictures. It helps me when I grab the images. It helps me when I pick fonts. It helps me when I decide on colors. I begin with the end in mind. What am I trying to accomplish? And I have to remind you, I have to remind me of that all the time. What's my end product? What's my end goal? What's the end thing that I want to accomplish here? So I'll give you some tips and tricks, and then I will do my best to try to answer your questions at the end. Now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And so you give me just a second here to get back to where I am supposed to be. And all right, that is that opening screen that you're looking at there. That screen is actually where you will find the webinar replays. All right, you've been given, this hasn't been updated. Well, it's been updated since I refreshed that. So now you see that we have, this is where we're at. Okay, so somebody provided that just a minute ago, provided the link to that just a minute ago. So because I want to show you something cool with this. I'm going to take this, I'm going to take a different image here that we'll be working with here in just a second. So I'm going to take this image and I'm going to import it into the MockZine program. All right. Are y'all seeing that? Let me know if you're seeing my screen properly. Okay, good. All right, I import that into the MockZine platform. Now watch what happens. Keep in mind, this is very, very early on, but I want you to see something here. This looks great in this mock-up. I just grabbed the image and dropped it in. I didn't have to pick a particular size image. Now, obviously, it would help if it's kind of close, but I didn't pick a particular size. I just dropped that in, and immediately it shows up in this first mock-up that I have here. Works great. Look over here. It looks fine on that. That's exactly the size of the image, so that looks cool. Y'all see that? Think that looks okay? I mean, I'm going to switch back and forth between these two. That looks pretty cool. All right. Now, I'm not having to, like with other platforms, I don't have to put this in. I just switch from mock-up to mock-up. That's pretty powerful. All right. I want you to understand how powerful that really is. So the next thing is, it looks fine on as I scroll through here. Look at this on the laptops or desktops. Looks pretty cool. No matter which direction I'm going with it, no matter how how it lays out, it looks really cool. All right. Y'all comfortable with that? It's pretty easy, and I can just simply go here and I download it. Easy peasy. Now I've got that. Okay. Now, if I need to make a different size, I simply click on the crop tool and it tells me what size it is, 1500 by 1080. Okay. And I can reshape this and I can move this around when I get the size that I want. Now, if I'm going to put this hang on a second, Xavier, I'm going to get to that. Just hang on. So if I'm going to take this and put it in Facebook, then I want to have this really close to a square size, right? Yes, it's automatically reformatting this so that it fits. Now let me put this back out to its full size. You'll see what happens next. What happens next is, let's get on all of these. Now we're going to do it on a tablet. Yes, it is a separate platform. But I can switch from this to this at ease. Don't have the answer to that question, Ellie. I just don't have the answer to that. But this is incredibly powerful. Squishes it a little bit, but all programs are going to have to squish it a little bit in order to make it fit. I like that suite of design products. Yeah, this is amazing. This capability, being able to switch through this. Now, this is rapidly being developed. I'm going to tell you something, and I'll have to pay attention to this. These things go together. They go together. Sometimes people say, well, why are they working on this when they have this? It's because they go together. They go together. Now, you have to understand how important it is that you get these, that they go together, okay? And what I mean by that is, and yes, we always let people know when it is available. I just can't answer the question until it is. So, right there, the ability to switch from one mock-up layout to another is amazing. That is just amazing. This is the next generation from typical mock-up programs, where the mock-up program requires that the image that goes in be a particular size and that it be formatted in a particular way. This is really simple. This is really simple. And I just wanted to kind of give you a sneak preview of that so that you would understand these pieces go together. They fit together. That should be pretty obvious, Tom. And I'm not trying to be mean when I say that. Smart Mockup can't do what I just did. They can't switch like this. They can't do that. Smart Mockup's an amazing program, and I use it every single day. But this is amazing. This feature right here is amazing. To be able to do this and not have to reload the image every time is just amazing. Yeah, you're trying to look at that in too many different ways, Vernon. We're looking at this you're looking at it through a screen that is being screenshot from a webinar platform. Yeah, I actually downloaded some of these. They look great. So, all right. Any questions about that? I can't answer when. I can't tell you how much. I can't answer too much, but I want you to see the value of that. All right. Okay. Just sneak preview. Thought it would be kind of fun to take a look at that. And yeah, I apologize for the tease, but I think it's good that people see what's going on. All right. As much as I can share with you. Well, you have to remember what I did on that image right here. I completely agree with you. But I completely agree with you. But I didn't make it for that. I made it for this. Okay? So just remember that. Yeah, we'll see how soon this comes around. Should be, it's coming along pretty well, okay? We like to keep you in the loop as much as we possibly can. So let me stop sharing my screen because I was going to play Gene's thing, but I'm going to run out of time if I do that. So this is the image that I created. I did this because I wanted it to be old school. I wanted that old school look. Does that look old school to everybody? Old school colors. It's old school colors. It's kind of an old school layout and design, and I think it looks pretty cool. Okay, I thought it looked pretty slick, and so I borrowed this inspiration for this. Russell's looked a little different than that, but it inspired me to come up with this. Okay, so this was where I was going. So let's switch over here. Let's go back, and I'll take something and I'll show you a little bit about layout and design using some of the things that we had earlier. Okay. Stephen, I will answer that question because I just got word today that they are working on getting an additional 100 mock-ups in it over the weekend. So that'll be kind of cool. And again, we'll probably put that out in the public and let everybody take a look at it. But I just found that out just before we went live that there will be a bunch more. When I first saw it, there were like 4, and so it's going to be pretty cool. All right, let's take, and we're going to play with this for a little bit to show you some of the things that that I want you to get a handle on. I'm going to remove those from the canvas. I'm going to remove all of this from the canvas and get that out of the way. And now I'm going to play with this. I'm going to show you some things that you can do that can be very helpful and make this go very quickly. Okay? Now, I want you to see this because this is something that I probably have failed to tell you along the way. And so this is a confession. I showed this grid lines last week when we were on. And I'm going to bring them back in and show them to you today because I want you to see something here. I'm going to take these 3 designs, which I have laid out here, and I did this. The grid lines make it really easy for me to space these properly. Okay. So that changed my grid line a little bit, but makes it easy for me to space these out. So what I'm going to do is, and this question comes up all the time, on a clear on a background that is just a plain color background, doesn't have an image on it. This is really, really easy to do, okay? I'm going to start in this corner right here, and I'm going to grab these 3 images. Now I'm going to go up here in the corner, and I'm going to group those. I'm not going to save them. I don't need to save that group. I just need to group them together. Once they're grouped, I can duplicate that. With the duplicated group, I can now move this, my grid line back up here, and I've resized my canvas, and so it's got my grid line off just a little bit from what I had it set up at. But that is the easiest way to, once you've got a couple of those built, then you can go through and do them just like that, even if they're all separate layers. Because this is, notice, I'll ungroup this and you'll see what I'm talking about. I have an image here, I have text here, I have a box here, and so those are all separate layers. And I just grab them as a whole by pulling off the screen here and doing this. And then all you have to do once they're grouped together is you just click on that group tool one time. And now you have the ability to duplicate that, and I can take that duplicate and I can move it where I want it to go. All right, so that made it really easy for me to be able to build this grid across the bottom of this. All right. Yeah. What I'm discovering is that people aren't using the group tool. That's the whole point of today, is that I have discovered that people are not using the group tool. And by not using the group tool, they run into issues. So I will do this again, and because Johnny's asked the question the second time. So I'm going to delete this group, and I'll illustrate it again. I take my arrow, my mouse pointer, and I bring it to a corner someplace, and then I hold down the shift key and I pull across it. Now it's grouped all of those together. Does that make sense? Very easy to do. Now that I have it like this, I have some options. I can grab this as a group and I can move it around. That's one option. That's one option. I can go up here, but I can't do anything other than delete it. That's the only thing I can do to it. All the other things are disabled. Okay, I can move it forward and backwards, but that's it. So, are y'all seeing my far right hand part of the screen? All right, good. So once I've done that, I have a couple of options. First option is I want to hold that as a group. Now I have the ability to be able to duplicate that. So I take that duplicate and I position the duplicate, and then I just have to change the content in here. Okay. Now remember all of the things that we've talked about before. We've got a number of things that we can do here. I can actually save this group, and if I save the group, what happens is over here under graphics, go to groups, and there it is. So I have the group saved. All right, I can use it on other images if I choose to do that. So that's the first thing. That's step one. Now let's take a look at some other things that we can do here. I now have this stuff. I ungroup it because I want to edit it. All right. Let me look at the questions here. All right. That's a great question. This is because I kind of like that. The best way I know to describe it, it looks like a coffin. All right. But when you go to the vector graphics and you go down here and grab a shape, the shapes get slightly distorted when you change their dimensions. So I took this one with the corners on it because it keeps the corners round. So when I pull it down like this, do you see what happens? See how it makes that coffin shape? I actually thought it was kind of cool. Now, obviously, other people would see that looking like a cell phone, and I see it look like a coffin. What does that tell you? I'm sorry. That's yes, you can ungroup and reuse them anytime, right? All right, but that's where that shape came from, which is kind of cool. That's really kind of what I was looking for here, and that's the reason why I used this one and I didn't use this one, because this doesn't distort. When you take this image right here and you pull it, you change its shape, it doesn't distort because it doesn't have corners on it. This one has corners on it, and the corners do a funky kind of, I forgot. Y'all don't remember what funky is. But it does that kind of strange look right there. Yeah, thanks you for pointing that out, Miss Kersey. I appreciate that. Yeah, if you've saved before, didn't know where to find it, and that's really a good question, because it's right here. It's under the graphics. Keep in mind, what am I dealing with? I'm dealing with the graphics. So where am I going to look for it at? I'm going to look for it in graphics. So when you try to remember the logic that's involved with that, okay? Funkology. For those of you who know, George Clinton was in town the other day doing a funkadelic concert. So that will remind you of something. All right, so now we're here, all right? And I've got the wrong images in here. I've duplicated this. I've got the wrong images in here. So what I'm going to do is I'll click on the image, go up here. I've uploaded some new images. So I'm going to go over to my uploads, and I want to change the images so that they are reflective of what we're trying to accomplish here, okay? And it's easier if I actually change the text here, but I'm not going to worry about trying to make this right. But I want you to see something. Does anybody know what I'm about to do? I'm going to use the replace tool, because if I come over here like this, I have to resize every image. All right. Easy enough to do. And by the way, really easy to do. What you do is put one corner right there, so it's in the same plane. Pull this one up until it matches, and it'll be exactly the right size. All right. Pretty easy to do. But if I want to just simply replace this, I hit my replace tool, and boom, it's done. I don't have to resize it. I've just eliminated a big time waster by doing that. Does that make sense? For some of you, this may be very elementary. For some of you, you may be going, wow, I didn't have any idea you could do that. Well, this saves me a ton of time. Now I'm going to show you something else that's important here. Do you notice that this is white in the corner, this is white in the corner, this is white in the corner? I needed a border around those. So what I did, anybody know what I did? Anybody know what I did? Tell me what I did. It's an image. How do you typically put a border around an image? You import it, you size it, you put a border around the outside of it with the background tool over here, and you click on border and you put a border around it, and then you save it and then you import it. Well, that's not what we're going to do. What we're going to do now is, and we're going to do this. I'm going to click on this image that has no border on it. I'm going to go over here to effects, and I'm going to put a border around the image. 8, and it comes out just right. Can you see that? Is it possible to see that? No, you cannot do the same with replace text. You can only do it with an image. But the good thing, Pete, and that's a good question. The good thing is I can click on all of the text, and then I can. All right, I'm trying to check the questions here to make sure everybody's on the same page. All right, good. All right, now I wanted this old school look. So last week we played with some branded text. Do you remember that? We had some branded text, and we played with that just a little bit. And I created these 5 branded images, branded text pieces in 5 different colors. Didn't change the font, just kept those 5 colors. Okay. So the other thing that I had that we played with the last time that was here is I had this little color palette that had my old school style colors, and that's where I came up with this with these 5 things right here. Okay, so we'll leave that on the screen. And I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to change this, and I'm going to get rid of the white because I'm bothered by white being a remember I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, that when you create a Facebook ad and you have white in it, it bleeds off the page and it blends into, and so you just have text lost in the entire Facebook profile. You remember that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the background here, and watch what I do. I'm going to click on the background, and I'm going to go to my background tool, color, and my color picker. I'm just going to run over here, I'm going to grab that color right there. Now I've eliminated that earlier concern that this is going to just be text standing out someplace. What it really does is it makes these stand out better. So I really kind of like that, okay? So the next thing is this now gets lost. So I'm going to change the color of that. So this is a box. Come over here, grab my color picker, and I'm going to use that color there. All right. Y'all understand what I'm doing here? Now, I want this text right here to stand out. So I'm going to go back over here, and I can grab my dark gold and put it there. Or I can do my light gold and put it there. Come back over here. Maybe I want to put a border around the outside of that so it stands out. Now, do you understand what I've done? Did I achieve the old school look that I was looking for? And then I just simply get rid of this color palette. I don't want to save those colors. I just wanted to have them available. All right. Last week we talked about the color palette. This is actually right here. And somebody had given me a logo. I took the logo, I imported it into this little tool right here. And right here, I just took the image and I dropped it right here in the middle. And then it picked those colors that you see in this color palette right here. It picked it from the logo that I had, and then I added the two gold colors. Does that make sense? Nice tool to remember from a branding standpoint, to be able to pick your colors. And then I like to just save the palette, bring the palette over, use it for what I'm doing. Because if I keep doing this and saving them like this, I keep deleting these. If I keep doing this and saving them here, pretty soon that list is going to be incredibly long. So I just want to make sure that I keep it short. All right. Trying to understand your question, Pete. I'm not sure I get what you're saying there. I'm sorry, I really don't understand the question. I have 3 different fonts, which again, I told you that's about the max that you ever want to try to use. This gave it such a cool looking old school look that I had to have it. I just had to do that. Yes, I think you're right. Right there. You just click on that camera and it does that for you, okay? What I did, Kim's asking the question, or what I did, and I think that's a good question. What I did to get this, to create this, was I had taken one of these right here, and I brought that color palette over, and I had duplicated that 4 times. So I had a total of 5 because I got 5 colors here. And then I simply clicked on this, went over here to my color picker, took the color picker itself, and then came over and put it in here, and then it saves it that color. Does that make sense? Okay, good. All right. We'll go back over here to the Special Tuesday because that's exactly what this is. I love that angle. I just thought that angle is pretty cool, and it fit perfectly for what I wanted to do here. I wanted that angle to kind of blend in. When you saw the original design, I had a very long sentence up here at the top, and then they kind of tiered back this way. I wanted this to fit right in there, and putting that at an angle made it perfect. Okay. We had the question came up last week, and it comes up all the time about, and make sure you go back and watch that. I created 2 videos, one for creating, I'm going to open this up and I'll talk to you about it. I won't do it. I just want to talk to you about it. I created 2 videos, one for creating newsfeed images and one for creating cover images. And interestingly enough, when you look at those, let me see if I can pull this up. I think I've got it saved on the dashboard. I may not, but I think I do. No, it looks like I didn't. I'm sorry. So we'll go back over here and we'll take a look at this, and you'll see what I'm talking about. When you go to Facebook and you look at the cover images, that's 12 by 675. This one is 1640 by 856. That's from an aspect ratio. Those are almost identical sizes. Okay, just keep in mind that those sizes are pretty close to each other. And when you have them pretty close, now you go over here and take a look at Twitter, the Twitter cover. You've got the same thing. You have the same type of an aspect ratio here. This is the same size right here. This is the same. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. Down here at the Twitter cover, again, you've got another aspect ratio. It's not too much different than what we had before. So you can do what we were doing a minute ago with the group tool and drag that, and you can group everything together and resize that image across the across those profiles, and you can do that in 3 mouse clicks. And you can make it any of those sizes. And then the other thing that you'll notice is that in most cases, the newsfeed images are the same size. And so, or close to, they're not the same pixel size, but they're the same aspect ratio size. And so it's really easy to adjust those things. And watch those 2 videos, and you'll get a good clue as to what I'm doing. Okay. With that, we have come up to the end of the hour. All right. Anything before I go? Hopefully I've answered the questions. I'll go back and check to make sure, but hopefully we've taken care of those things as we've gone. All right. Thank you all so much for being on today. I appreciate it very much. And we'll be back here next week, same time, same place. Everything just like usual. I'll post again in the group just like we did. If I find that we've missed a question, I'll post the answer to that in the group, and you'll have that available. So, all right. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you coming on.